Hey there guys, Ed Barton from Crush Social Anxiety here, and right now I'm out here in Morocco and I'm doing a 10-day surf trip out here, and I'm not trying to rub your face in it or brag or anything like that, but basically I'm now able to live a life of real freedom socially, economically and geographically, and all of this would have been unthinkable to me just a few years ago. If we look back, at the age of 27, I couldn't even leave the house. I had to pay a psychiatrist to actually walk me down to the supermarket because I was so socially anxious I didn't even feel I knew how to walk down the street. Basic daily stuff was impossible for me. So we fast forward to where I am right now and created my own online business, become socially free. And there's a few lessons that have occurred to me in this past 10 days, and I just wanted to share them with you. First of all, there's a few lessons from the social aspect, from the actual experience of living in a surf camp with other people. First of all, I booked a private room because I wanted my own space. You know, I'm 36 and I felt like I don't want to be sharing a room with people and stuff like that. And I was put into a dormitory, and as it actually turned out, it was really great. All of us bonded together and we had a great time, and I was offered a private room and I actually didn't want to take it. So it's really amazing to me, the transformation where you can go from shying, you know, being scared of people, to actually seeking out sort of communal living and that kind of thing, and growing and thriving from that. And one of the first lessons which I actually learned from this was that there would be new people coming into the camp all the time, and the majority of people didn't step forward and introduce themselves at dinner time when we all ate together, and that generally just made things more awkward. So there was one particular guy that I was sharing a dorm room with, and he was very, very good just naturally socially, and he would just go up to people immediately and go, "Hi, you know, I'm such and such," and just introduce himself to everybody immediately, and it just really broke the ice. And I know that that may sound completely unrealistic to you at the moment where you are in your struggle with social anxiety, but I started to follow suit. You know, I was trying to do that anyway, but even more so from seeing the way he was interacting, I really tried to push myself then to take the initiative and introduce myself to pretty much everybody in the camp, and it just makes things a lot easier. And I know that sounds counterintuitive almost when you have social anxiety disorder, because you're like, how can I do that? That's, you know, that's so awkward for me. But actually what is more awkward is that silence. I'm not just talking about when you're in a kind of communal situation, but even if you're just in the elevator with somebody at work, or just waiting for a bus or whatever, just a simple icebreaker of any kind, just, "Oh God, finally we've got a sunny day today," or "Is this bus ever going to come?" or "What floor are you on?" "Oh right, yeah, I know, that's the IT department, right?" And then it gives the opportunity for things to then grow out of that. And you may feel skeptical at the moment, but I would really recommend, and I'm sure you will find, if you push yourself to do that, it just makes things easier. Because the hardest thing with social anxiety is just the silence, and as the silence grows, as you probably have experienced, it just becomes more and more awkward. So one of the first lessons was really to take the initiative and just try and push myself to break the ice, and it just made things easier for me and for everybody else. Secondly, I really think that the experience of living in a dorm was really a bit of an epiphany for me, because, you know, I imagine that would be a nightmare. I was complaining as soon as I was put in the dorm, and I said that I actually wanted to move out of the dorm. And as it turned out, the guys that I was sharing with were great. You know, we've shared Facebook details. I hope that we'll hang out in future. They're really great people. And even coming here, booking myself in alone to come to Morocco on my own, it was a bit of a leap of faith. I was like, oh, traveling alone, is it going to be okay? Are there going to be people that I'll meet and stuff like that? And this is a lesson which has been proved to me time and time again while overcoming social anxiety, and that is that if you take the risk, if you go to that party, if you say yes to that invitation, if you start that conversation, if you give that eye contact, if you give that initial greeting, or whatever it might be, if you take that leap, the rewards are usually 10 and 100-fold. And very, very rarely do they live up to the kind of nightmare expectations that we have, because that's one of the characteristics of social anxiety, is that you catastrophize and you build up these awful nightmare scenarios in your head, and they very, very rarely if ever, come to fruition and are reality. And in the meantime, you're sitting on the sidelines, you're sitting at home, and you're missing out on all of life and all of its rich opportunities. So lesson number one would be take the initiative, say something, say anything, and just break that ice. It's a self-preservation mechanism in some ways, because it's going to be easier for you. And number two is that things almost always, when you take a risk, work out so much better than you anticipated. Okay, so those are the lessons from living in the dorm. Now I want to look at a couple of lessons that I've learned from actually surfing itself. And what was really inspiring is that there was a guy in my dorm room who I became friends with, who was 61 years old, and he had become a good intermediate surfer. He was a solid surfer, and he only started learning surfing 2 years ago. And he really inspired a lot of us, because we felt, oh, you know, I'm 36, I thought, you know, I'm starting this too late. And then there's this guy here who picked it up at 59, and he just set his mind to it, and he's really on his way to becoming a good surfer. And this just taught me and showed everybody it's never too late. And one of the main problems that a lot of people with social anxiety have is that feeling of like, oh, it's too late, I'm 30 now, I've missed out on so much of life, I might as well just curl up in a ball and die already. And it's absolute bullshit. It's never too late. You have to try and learn these more positive ways of looking at life, which social anxiety often squashes. And the reason it is never too late ties in with a really interesting book that I've been reading at the moment on neuroplasticity. And when you're learning surfing, it feels a lot like learning to walk. And in some ways, when you've had your social skills shattered or your social confidence shattered, whether it's through bullying or systematic psychological abuse or whatever it might be, trauma in your childhood or things that you maybe can't even pinpoint, it is a lot like learning to walk again. There's levels of unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, then there's conscious competence, and then there's unconscious competence, where you're doing everything automatically. And that is when you're in the flow, when you're socializing really well and social skills are on point and you're not feeling anxious anymore. It's automated. You don't have to overthink all these things that you're going to say before you say them, and then you don't overanalyze everything after you say them as well. It becomes automated. So it is a lot like surfing or learning any skill, and the brain is designed to learn. It's a plastic organism, and for anybody who tells me I'm this age, I can't do it, you know, unless you're autistic or have severe Asperger's, which, you know, some people watching this may have, and I'm not trying to discriminate or whatever, I'm just saying you have a legitimate point where you may feel that you're not able to make changes. But for the vast majority of people struggling with social anxiety, you have developed a really negative mindset where you're like, I can't do this, I'm too old, and all these other things. And what you need to realize is that the brain is extremely plastic, and you've learned neurons that fire together, wire together, and you've created circuitry which has taught you that people will hurt you, people don't like you, you're not enough, and all these other things. And what you need to do, and what part of the process of overcoming social anxiety is rewiring these neural networks. And that can be done through neuroplastic retraining and through things such as exposure therapy and these kind of things, where you learn a different response to a previously terrifying stimuli. So the lesson there from surfing, it's never too late. The brain is plastic. There's always opportunity for change. But when you have an entrenched negative mindset, which you get from social anxiety, it's hard to believe that. So those are the 3 lessons. Take the initiative, just say something, say anything. It's easier for you. It makes it less painful, it breaks the ice. Number 2, just take a leap, whatever it is, even if it's going to the shop or going to a party or whatever it may be for you, whatever is a challenge. I am very confident if you do that, the payoff will be much, much bigger than expected. And number 3, it is never too late. You know, you have not wasted your life. You've not been robbed by social anxiety of your life. And I felt like that, you know, I was 32 before I started getting this handled. I know exactly how you're feeling, but it's bullshit. You can still do it. You can rewire your brain. The brain is plastic. You can learn different responses. It's, you know, it's conscious at first, but it becomes automated, and it just becomes, you know, an easy automatic reaction. You don't have to overthink everything. So that is everything that I wanted to cover in this short video from Morocco. I'm going to go back to my surf camp and have dinner with everybody and have a good social evening and some chat. I'm flying back to the UK early tomorrow morning, but I hope this has been of use to you. Please subscribe to the channel because it really helps the channel, it helps me, and leave any comments below, and I look forward to speaking to you all really soon. Take care.